When it comes to restaurants, is smaller better? Because I'm thinking chances are your favorite restaurant is probably not a big chain restaurant, right?
Yep.
It's most likely small and intimate, a little hole in the wall, a neighborhood, quaint bistro. Could this be the secret ingredient to longevity in the restaurant industry? So last weekend in the Montreal Gazette, JP KARWACKI wrote a profile of some of Montreal's beloved small restos, and JP joins us now. Thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, thanks so much.
The first thing that I find myself wondering is that as the cost of absolutely everything is skyrocketing in the restaurant industry, from staff to supplies and absolutely everything, right? Food prices are through the roof. Is this a more sustainable model?
Is it a sustainable model? I mean, I would say that it's circumstantial, and it's a result of the times that we're living in right now. Maybe the price is going to be higher, maybe. But then again, I mean, like, if the hackneyed theory of this whole article can't make readers question why processed food served out of plastic bags with corporate branding costs less, I mean, why do we expect the bottom barrel prices on the cream of the crop, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. Well, and that's the thing. Smaller restaurants usually are way more expensive, though, right? I guess because the overhead.
Can be, yeah, but I think it's also a matter of, well, I think for those that want to check the article in the Gazette, I mean, one of the things that had come up often was that smaller restaurants tend to focus on less quantity but higher quality. And I think that's what they're paying for.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. We did a story just the other day talking about the fact that there were 260 some odd restaurant bankruptcies last year. We're probably going to hit that number or maybe surpass it even this year. You'd have to think a lot of those are smaller places that are simply having trouble getting by, though, right?
I would assume so, yeah. I mean, like, it's not necessarily just food costs, but it's also about work standards in the industry have also required people to reassess how much they actually get paid as well. And we're seeing inflation pretty much across the board as it is anyway. So that can apply from anywhere from, you know, costs of being able to employ people to, you know, the hydro bill, for example.
Was that something in talking to small restaurant owners that they brought up on a sort of consistent basis?
No, not so much, actually. It was very much, you know, the article really was focusing on a very simple question of whether or not the smallest restaurants were the best in the city. And the answer was a resounding yes, due in large part to factors that might not be so obvious to some, but it's going to be gospel to others. So it would be that small restaurants are where we're going to find a greater degree of personable service that connects with diners. You're going to find a greater degree of, like, owners that are passionate about the business because there's more on the line for them. They have less seats, which means slimmer margins, right? And there's less room for failure. And that's a lot of pressure, but that's how coal gets crushed into diamonds, right? And then finally, there's that higher quality of food that we just talked about.
I was thinking about the common threads of all the different restaurants that you spoke to in this profile, and I think, like you said, definitely that idea of quality over quantity, but also passion, right? How much does passion come into play here, JP?
I would defer to Chef Massimo Piedmonte at the restaurant Cabaret L'Enfer in the Plateau on this one, and he said something that, you know, it might sound like hokum, but it's true, like all good cliches are, that, you know, what was it again? He said, nothing special can be mass-produced, and that everything special is going to come in small amounts, you know. And I'm going to believe that, you know. It's very much in the case of service where I have a higher likelihood of being able to engage in a conversation, learn about what I'm eating on a greater level with a small restaurant than I will at, you know, Outback Steakhouse.
So I would just ask you as the last question, because we have Leslie Chesterman on the other line listening to this as well. At the end of all this pretty plum assignment, did you actually get to sample food at all of these places?
I make a point out of eating as far and as wide as I can in the city.
Nice.
So outside of the assignment, though, it wasn't a prerequisite for me to work on the article, but it's a pleasure to always, you know, support small restaurants when I can.
Well, I have to tell you, as much as I thoroughly enjoyed reading your article, JP, I was like, oh no, some of my favorite joints are in here. Now other people are going to know about it. Like Entre Deux is right near my place. I'm like, oh no, wait, I still want to be able to get in there, right? So
you can't keep a good thing secret forever.
That's right.
It's truly good.
Well said.
JP, want to thank you so much. You can stick around. Leslie's on the line right now. Leslie Chesterman, former fine food critic at the Montreal Gazette. So Leslie, we talked about this a while ago on the podcast on the Corner Booth, but it seems that, you know, lists that come out now, Canada's Best, they're all small restaurants, right? Or are there some in here that we missed that are still, you know, kind of serving 200, 300 people at a time?
I think there's a big problem when we're talking about small restaurants is that, are we talking about size or are we talking about commercial restaurants? I mean, one of the restaurants that won in the Laurier de la Gastronomie is one of our bigger restaurants, which is Monarch, which is a very big restaurant for a new restaurant. We're not talking Outback Steakhouse. For me, that's a whole other category of restaurant. You know, St. Hubert or Baton Rouge, Outback Steakhouse. We're talking about, like, are there 120 seats or are there 20 seats? You know, and I myself have, you know, been to all of them, and I love big restaurants and I love small restaurants. There are different reasons why we like different restaurants.
Okay, that's
and I like
fair.
I like a big bustling restaurant like Le Mayac as much as I like a little restaurant, you know. And I think back to something like Joe Beef, which when they first opened had about 20 seats, and they were so successful that they had to make it bigger because they were turning away so many people.
That's a good point.
So there are real disadvantages to small restaurants, and you know, I think as long as the restaurant's good, I don't think it really matters if it's big or small. I've had very personalized service in huge restaurants. I think there's more of a scene in big restaurants. And, you know, for that kind of romantic dinner, you know, would you want to be in a small restaurant or do you want to get dressed up and go for a big restaurant? It's like apples and oranges in a way, but for me, they're both good.
I love that. I love the way you're describing it. I'm wondering, can that passion that we talked about and also this concept of
absolutely.
quality over
You know,
quality. Yeah, okay. It can
yeah,
still be
I
there.
mean, you can have 30 people in a kitchen serving 200 people, and they're all passionate. And you can also have a restaurant that has 15 seats, and the guy in the kitchen doesn't want to be there, or the girl, you know. Passion really doesn't really have to do with it being a small restaurant. I don't think they're more passionate. I actually don't agree. I don't think they get better ingredients. You know, a lot of big restaurants buy more, so they're the priority for suppliers because they pay more. Big restaurants usually make more money. I mean, there's something terrible, which is an empty big restaurant, which none of us like to see.
Yeah.
But, you know, look at Moishes, the old Moishes in its heyday when it was packed. It was a brilliant atmosphere that I never got at a tiny restaurant with 15 seats. And yet, yes, we discovered these small restaurants with 3 people working in the background. You know, back in the day, there was like the Passepartout, which was the ultimate small personal restaurant.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back a little bit. But, I just really think it's about whether or not the restaurant works as a small restaurant or big restaurant. But, you know, talking about Massimo, the chef Massimo, he was complaining on Instagram this week that he had a lot of no-shows. And if you have 30 seats in a restaurant and 8 people don't show up, you're looking at a third of your clients that don't show up. It's very hard to absorb that. So small restaurants really pay the price with no-shows, and they really pay the price with overbooking reservations. So you find the little Great Hole in the Wall restaurant, everybody wants to go. And then the next time you go, it's packed and you can't get a reservation. So people move on to the next place. So it can be really difficult to be a small, successful restaurant, and you're overwhelmed by success.
You know, I wonder, we've talked about this before, and we're going to run out of time, but this idea now, if this is still happening now, right? The idea of, you know what, we're going to take your credit card because we can't really we can't make a living if people stop showing up after having made reservations. Is this coming or already happening?
Oh, the no-shows thing is disgusting and terrible of people not to do that. I mean, we all forget once in our lives, but when like a group of 8 just doesn't show up, that's horrible. In Quebec, you can't charge for a service not rendered, but we're starting to see something. I know in Quebec City, I recently paid at a restaurant called RV. They're a very, very small restaurant, very few places, and everybody was locked down with a $200 credit card deposit before they showed up. So I'm not against that. It's like tickets at the theater. And I do agree with a lot of the restaurants that are mentioned in the article are amazing. But, you know, let's not forget when you get a big restaurant that's running on all cylinders, they're amazing too, you know, and it's a really see and be seen, bustling, great place. That's fun too, you know, and we have both in Montreal.
No, you're right. It's a good point too. I mean, I know the article focused on smaller, but you're right. I mean, you can have that kind of ambiance if that's what you're looking for. There used to be, I don't know if there are any more, I haven't been to any lately, big restaurants. You mentioned Moishes at the time. I mean, yeah, that was a dining experience.
We were talking
Le Mayac, Monarch, even to a certain extent, L'Express is a bigger restaurant than that tiny 15-seat restaurant. And they have a lot of turnover, and they're making a lot of money. In the restaurant business, either your you know, mid-sized restaurants sometimes don't do well, but the big restaurants are raking in the bucks. You know, if they're popular, they're doing well. Gibby's, popular, doing well. The new Moishes, I hear, is doing very well. These are big restaurants. They're run like big businesses. But we shouldn't assume that they're all using, you know, very bad food or, you know, these kind of the keg. That's a very different restaurant than a restaurant like Gibby's, for instance.
Oh,
you know?
for sure.
You see what I mean? It's like not coming all in a sous vide bag out of a truck.
We just talked the other day about how so many people are not dining out right now just because it's become so expensive.
Me.
Are you seeing that? Yeah, me too. I've stopped dining out.
No, I can't afford it. I'm going to be honest. I ate out all the time, constantly, and now I choose very carefully. So I think it's very important to listen to people's advice of where to go out and eat. I'm very careful, but I really don't want to waste my money. It is expensive now. We all understand why it's expensive, but at the end of the day, it's still, we're starting to look at $300 bill for two people, which is kind of normal. Here's hoping that we chose our restaurant well. And one thing I really liked about that article is he really mentioned a lot of great restaurants. I just wish there had been a quote from somebody with a big restaurant saying why a big restaurant is also good too.
There's the follow-up. JP KARWACKI, Leslie Chesterman. Leslie, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
JP, you too.